Hi everyone, and welcome to another video. Today we're gonna be shifting some gears a little bit and talking about Exodus chapter 14. I was reading this chapter after my prayer time a few days ago in the morning, and it really caught my attention. I just want to share with you guys what God spoke to me personally, and I hope it speaks to you as well. So let's go old school and let's talk about Exodus chapter 14. And we're actually going to look at chapter 9, verse 19. I'm sorry. But if you have some time at home, please take a look at the whole chapter. Highly, highly recommended. Any chapter of the Bible, really, but you know. Verse 19 says, "And the angel of God who went before the camp of Israel moved and went behind them. And the pillar of cloud went from before them and stood behind them. So it came between the camp of the Egyptians and the camp of Israel. Thus it was a cloud and darkness to the one, and it gave light by night to the other, so that the one did not come near the other all that night." Then further down, verse 24 says, "Now it came to pass in the morning watch that the Lord looked down upon the army of the Egyptians through the pillar of fire and cloud, and he troubled the army of the Egyptians, and he took off their chariot wheels so that they drove them with difficulty. And the Egyptians said, 'Let us flee from the face of Israel, for the Lord fights for them against the Egyptians.'" I think it's really cool what is happening here. This is in Exodus chapter 14. We're talking about when the people of Israel, after seeing all the plagues, the Egyptians being hit with all the plagues, they are finally in the desert. They're finally able to cross to the promised land where God is sending them. And there, if you read a little bit before that, it says that they were so excited, they were so confident to go, but when they saw the Egyptians coming after them, all of a sudden they were very fearful, and they were asking God, "God, where are you? Why are you allowing these Egyptians to come after us after everything that you have done for us? After all of those rescue moments that you gave us, now the Egyptians are coming for us, and there's a sea in front of us that is about to kill us." And they were very, very scared. And it says that God said, just told Moses, just tell them to walk, just tell them to keep going. But here, as we look in these verses, what we're looking at is in before the people of Israel, there was an angel guiding the people of Israel so that they could go and be with God, so that they could get to the promised land. He was there to protect them. He was there to guide them. He was there to be with them. And when they started to walk, the Lord commanded that angel to go in between the army of the Egyptians and the people of Israel. And it says so clearly here that it was the same cloud, it was the same angel that was in between the people of Israel as in the army of the Egyptians. But the difference is that while the Israelites saw a light, a cloud of light that was guiding them, that was keeping them protected and moving them forward, the Egyptians were seeing darkness. And I don't know if you know anything about Egypt or about cultures like that believed in other gods, but darkness for them they were so scared of it, very, very scared of it. And while they were looking at the same exact cloud, the same exact angel, the same exact pillar that was in between them, the Egyptians, because they didn't believe in God, because they were there trying to attack the people of God, they were seeing darkness. They couldn't see. They weren't guided at all. It caused them to fear. It caused them to be afraid. It caused them to have to slow down and stop in their tracks. These are people that had a huge army. I mean, we're not talking about 20, 30 soldiers. We're talking about thousands of soldiers. And we're talking about thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of Israelites as well. This is not a little bit of people. This is a lot of people. And the Egyptians, they thought that they had power because other people were afraid of them. They were very powerful during that time, but they were confident in their chariots, in their own power, in their own weapons that they could overcome the Egyptians. They had not yet understood that if God is for us, then who is against us? The sad part about this is that the Israelites had not understood that either. That if God is for us, then who shall be against us? And so in the same pillar that they were seeing darkness, the Israelites, because they were being guided by God, because they were the people of God and they were going to conquer the promised land, they were seeing light. It was the same cloud. It was the same angel in between them. It was the same pillar. Yet one, because he didn't serve God, was seeing darkness. It came as something to be feared. And the other one, because they were serving God, that same cloud, that same protection was a protection for them. It was something good for them. And isn't it true about our lives? You know, sometimes people come up to us and we're facing things, and we all face things. Let's talk about COVID, for instance. We're all facing problems that arose from this pandemic, whether it be health issues, whether it would be financial issues. I myself lost my job. You know, we are all facing something, some type of consequence. But the people that do not believe in God, or their trust is not in God, their trust was in their own chariots, their trust is in their own gods, their trust is in their own power, their trust was in their own health, their trust is in the things that they see in social media or in the news, their trust was in something else. Now that this pandemic hit, for them it was depression, it was anxiety, they were scared. It served as a bad thing. It was served as darkness. For us as Christians, for the ones that are serving God and keep seeking God night and day, for the people who put their trust in God, that same pandemic that was so horrible for so many people, and I'm not taking away the effects of it by any means. Like I said, I lost my job. Other people, I have many people in my family who have died because of this pandemic. So I'm not taking away any of the horrible things that have happened. But just as an example, you know, when all of this happened, instead of seeing a bad thing, it brought me closer to God. And I know so many other people that through this horrific place in our lives right now in this pandemic, it served to bring us closer and to have different experiences with God. And this could be anything in your life. You know, maybe it's a divorce, maybe a separation, maybe it's a loss of a job, maybe it's a loss of a health. There is a couple in our church right now that he was diagnosed with cancer a while ago. And right after, a few months after, his wife was diagnosed with cancer as well. And thank God, they have given her the green light, but he still has cancer. The doctors have said that there is nothing that can be done for him. And while a lot of people see this as a horrible thing, which it is, I mean, we are always praying for him and his wife, for God to heal and to take away the pain. And it is, and it must be really scary. But if you listen to him speak, you start crying, your faith increases, because while everybody's seeing something horrific happening in his life, it served to bring him closer to God. The way he speaks about God, the way his faith is unreal. His peace that surpasses all understanding is all over his life and can be seen. And anytime that he feels enough strength, he's there serving. He's there. We did a food pantry in the church, and we were out there in the freezing cold. We were out there in heat of summer. And us that are healthy, I mean, we were struggling, but he was there too. I mean, he does not miss a beat. And this is what is so exciting, is if you keep reading, like I read, it says that the Lord came in between that fire in verse 24, and he troubled the army of the Egyptians, and he took off their chariot wheels. I imagine such mischievousness, you know, from God as he's going there, like, what am I gonna do? Am I gonna take these wheels away from these carts? And he was in there in the cloud. So what we see as darkness sometimes in other people's lives, if God is fighting for them, they are in light. Sometimes the things that are happening in our lives, sometimes there are the things that are happening in our family, other people may see as darkness. And if we are not walking with Christ day by day, we see it as darkness. We see it as something negative. We see it as something so overwhelming that we can't imagine having to go through. But God is in the midst of that cloud. And while God was in the midst of that cloud, and it was darkness for one army, but it was light for the other, while it was the same God in the middle of that cloud, while God was protecting one, God was confusing, God was distressing, God was taking the wheels of the other. Because if we are not fighting with Christ on our side, He's against us. That's what the Bible says. And so much so that the Egyptians understood. They understood. They said, "Let us flee from the face of Israel, for the Lord fights for them against the Egyptians." This is an army that believes in other gods. This is an army that does not believe in the Lord at all. They believe in so many other gods. There's sacrifices. I mean, if you read about these sacrifices and these gods, it's horrific. But they recognized at that moment, the Lord is fighting against us. The Lord is fighting, but He's fighting against us. He's on their side. So let's get away. And if you keep on reading, when they finally pass the Red Sea that they were facing, on the other side, when the Red Sea closed up again, the bodies of the Egyptians were found all over the shore. They were dead. Because against God, no army, no matter how strong, no matter how big the circumstance, no matter how horrible the circumstance, no matter what the attack of the enemy is, if God is on your side, there is no way that you're going to survive it. There's no way. And so if you're facing something, if you've been seeking God and you've been feeling lonely and you're facing horrible things in your life, or I don't know you personally, but if you're facing anything, I want to assure you this: stand close to God. Make sure that you're in His presence. Make sure that you're seeking Him, that even through your tears, that even through your problems, that even through your desert, you're in His presence seeking Him. Make sure that He's fighting for you. And the diagnosis that the doctors have given you, the diagnosis that this world has given you that says that it's going to be negative, that you're not going to survive it, it's because they're seeing darkness on their side. But rest assured that the same cloud is that showing them darkness that is horrible for them, that problem, that situation, that person, God is going to use in your life as light. And He's going to fight in the middle of that for you. As long as we are fighting on God's side, He's the one who's going to not only fight for us against our armies, whatever the situation is, but He's going to make us pass to the other side of the sea, no matter how great it is. People say, "Oh, it's so big, there's no way that you're going to survive it." There's always a way. If you can't go through it, He will make you walk on top of it. But rest assured, you're going to cross the other side, singing victory, while everybody else stays behind. So I just wanted to encourage you to keep your faith up, to be still in God's presence, and to not give up, because God is with you. May God bless you guys, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.